Good evening to everybody. Welcome to the introduction to the ECB Disability Cricket Champion Clubs Initiative. And I'd like to thank our presenters this evening. That's Pat Ward, Bradley Donovan and Edgar Herridge from the ECB National Disability Manager. A reminder to all, just please keep your mics muted throughout the session, although there will be an opportunity to ask questions later. If you do want to ask a question, by all means, pop it in the chat box or use the reaction at the bottom of the screen and give me a thumbs up or a hand signal. And as I said, the recording has started. We've got a really good session for you tonight. So first of all, I'll hand you over to Pat.
Thanks, Phil. Evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on the Club Champions programme. You'll hear from me and Bradley later on, but to begin with, I'm going to hand over to Edgar from the ECB. He's going to introduce the programme, talk about it nationally, give you a rundown of how the programme works, and then we'll speak to you later about how to link into it all around Essex. So over to you, Edgar.
Brilliant. Thanks, Pat. Good evening, everyone. Great to see you all on the call this evening. It's a real pleasure to come and join you. A shame I can't be in front of you, but a year in, we're still in this virtual position that we all find ourselves. But it's great that I can join you from my front room in Somerset this evening. As per the introduction from Phil, my role is ECB National Disability Cricket Manager, which really involves supporting the counties on everything sort of below England representative level disability activity. So heavily involved with Super One's activity and the Lord's Taverners table cricket as well as other initiatives, including the county competitions and such like. And I'm here this evening just for the next 10 or 15 minutes or so to take you through the new ECB national initiative, which is called Disability Cricket Champion Clubs. The idea being that we want to put disabled people and disability cricket right at the heart of cricket clubs all across England and Wales. Cricket is hugely fortunate to have several thousand cricket clubs up and down the land, and I know in Essex there's some fantastically strong clubs. Many of you on the call, I'm sure, are connected with clubs. And yet we don't always have every opportunity for people to feel part of those clubs and feel welcome into those clubs. So this initiative really is just aimed at supporting those clubs that want to make disability cricket activity part of their offer. So just like you may have a Saturday team, a women's section, an all-stars program, a dynamos program, can we use this initiative to really make sure there's those opportunities and tie it in with our Super Ones and other initiatives? And I'm sure Pat and Brad will come on to talk about how it may link in with other things in Essex. So what is Disability Cricket Champion Clubs, I hear you all asking? It initially launched in March of last year, and any of you who are any decent on your dates will know that shortly after it launched, in fact within about 5 days I think, it had to close again because we all went into a national lockdown, and you don't need me to tell you what happened over the last 12 months, but needless to say it's not been a great environment to get new activity underway in cricket clubs. However, I'm really pleased to say that at ECB we're still absolutely investing in this programme, and it relaunched just over a month ago. This year we're looking to invade, we're not looking to invade anyone, we're looking to involve 100 cricket clubs all across England and Wales, although we can stretch a little bit higher than that. We've got more kit and more funding if needs be, but we'd like initially to support 100 clubs. So you probably get the feel from that we're not talking dozens and dozens of clubs just in Essex. Actually, it's about finding those right clubs who've got all the right attributes and want to get involved in this. But on that, the exciting thing is actually we've got line of sight of doing this program for at least the next 4 years. So if we can sort of engage 100 clubs each year for the next 4 years, you can see actually quite quickly we can start to build a really strong groundswell of disability inclusive cricket clubs. And as we've put there, they are designed to develop disability cricket sections. Now, we know there's a handful of clubs up there already involved in delivering disability in some way. So even for some of you on the call, perhaps you may play host to one of the teams that Pat and Bradley run in Essex. You may have some Super Ones activity that sometimes takes place at your club. Fantastic if you're in that position. And the first thing I'd say if that is true of any of the clubs on the call is you are absolutely not ruled out of this. In fact, we would love to have you involved because you've already demonstrated that this is something that you want to be involved with. And we would absolutely support you to take what you're doing already and hopefully grow and expand that further. Or you may be a club who's not dipped your toe into this area before, but for one reason or another, you think now is the right time and you want to include those in your local community who have a disability. And again, whatever your starting position is, we will help you both at a national level and provide that local support to make sure it lands at your club. And as the line at the bottom says there, what we really want to achieve over the next 4 years, and as part of the national strategy for cricket, which you may have heard called Inspiring Generations, is for everyone to be able to say that cricket is a game for me. And as I said at the top, the clubs are absolutely at the heart of us achieving that. Thanks, Pat. I'll keep prattling through. I've only got one more slide after this one, but exactly as Phil said at the top, please do pop any questions in the chat box, and I won't be going off anywhere after I've done my piece, so I'm happy to take any questions later on as well. So the support that I was touching on, I'll just give you a little bit more detail of what that looks like. So once clubs have applied, their applications will come centrally to the ECB. Myself and my colleague Richard Hill will review those. We will then always send them back to your county cricket board. So Pat and Brad will have a chance to look at them and assess them. And if all parties are happy, which I'm sure for those clubs on the call, we certainly will be, we would then look to kick the ball off and get that support on its way. So the first thing you'll expect to see is a nice big brand new kit bag coming through the post, as per the picture. Needless to say, there's a lot of additional kit in that bag. You don't just get 2 bats, 4 balls and a pile of cones. There's lots more bats, lots more balls, wind balls, tennis balls. Some of the larger balls have ball bearings inside. So if we've got someone with a visual impairment or who's blind, there's something audible that they can pick up as well. There's additional markers, different bat sizes, ropes. For any of you delivering the national programs, All Stars or soon to be Dynamos, it's very similar to some of the kit in there, just with a few adapted pieces. Then there's national and local support. So in terms of the support from the ECB, we'll kick off the equipment, as I say, and then pretty early on, we'll provide free training spaces, online training program called an Inclusion and Activity Program, run by Activity Alliance and UK Coaching. And that really is just a basic introduction to building confidence and building awareness around inclusive coaching practices. So looks at a few different models of coaching and just generally gives you a bit of support and a bit of guidance as where you may want to go to get more information. There's also a plethora of additional information on the ECB website, which you'll all be signposted to. We'll sort you out with promotional assets. So again, if you're thinking, we'd love to shout about this on Facebook, but we perhaps haven't got the right imagery to say what we want to do, we'll look after all of that as well. We'll give you editable flyers, editable posters, editable social media posts so that you can shout about this new activity that you're getting underway. And we'll hopefully give you some guidance and support as to where and how best to do that as well. And then we'll host some forums. So we'll probably get a Zoom call in the diary in about a month's time for those clubs that have got the applications in, just to bring you together and make you feel part of something nationally. Because as I say, it won't just be the Essex club that's involved, but there'll be at least one club from every single county and Wales as well. And then just keep you updated with ongoing support. So there'll be support throughout the summer. There'll be a Facebook group as a bit of an ongoing forum for sharing best practice, shouting up if you've got a challenge. And again, we'll keep a close eye on those. But I'm also really pleased to say you've got possibly some of the best local support around in the fact that you've got Pat and Brad, and I know they will be on hand to lend support. They do fantastic jobs of running a really, really strong disability cricket programme in Essex, from your exceptionally talented and high achieving county teams through to the Super Ones programme. And I did spot someone earlier wearing their Super Ones t-shirt. So I know at least one of you is involved in that programme on the call, which is great. Table cricket, the list goes on. But needless to say that the 2 gents that I'm going to pass back to in a minute do a fantastic job. And I know throughout the course of this summer, they will be on hand to give you support, maybe engage with the local Super Ones programme, whatever is right for your club. Those guys will always be a fantastic first port of call for you. And in the future, and I put down their future support, actually, I know what Pat and Brad will be looking to do is actually really involve your cricket club almost as part of the wider disability pathway. So you never feel on your own. You'll hopefully feel a part of the Essex family of disability provision, but also, as I say, part of a national family as well. There is some grant funding attached to this. I'd say two things on it. It's not the biggest pot of money the ECB have ever given away, and I never professed for it to be. And also, we will release the funding at the end of the summer, really just so that we can make sure we've had a full summer of support to you. We've got your feedback, how have the sessions gone, how many participants have you had, and then we'll release that funding. Now, the idea of that funding is really to be spent roughly in 3 areas, although we're not going to be chasing you for exact receipts, but I always group it in roughly these 3 areas. If you need additional equipment or more precise inclusive activities, so you may have a number of visually impaired players, and actually you might want to get some larger VI balls, VI stumps, that there'd be some cost there. Absolutely fine. Please do use the money to get all the kit you like. It may be in terms of promotion. So we all know how fantastic, say, Facebook is these days. But if you want to pay for a paid advert, it's going to cost you sort of £50 or so to get that in the right places. You might want to do a run of posters. You might even want to get a banner up at the club, whatever you want to do. Again, please do use those funds for that. And finally, the money can be used if you feel within house that you haven't got the expertise or the confidence or the knowledge to get a coach in to support a number of the sessions. Perhaps not all of them, perhaps just to help you get stuff kick-started. The only big proviso we put on that is if, as a club, you're paying an external coach to come in and help, we just ask that someone from the club is always present and involved as well. The £500 won't be a rollover every year. So what we'd hate for you to do is set up some brilliant activity, but that is completely dependent on the fact that, say, Bradley turns up each week, because whilst it's great to get him involved, we really want to see that sustainability whereby your club coaches, volunteers, everyone is involved in getting this activity underway. It also really helps with that feel of actually this being part of the cricket club. This isn't just disability cricket club that's outsourced to another coach. But as I say, if it's helping get activity underway and you think it's relevant, then really there's not too many limits on that funding, other than the amount itself, obviously. I will keep rattling through. I don't think we've had any questions come in yet, but all happy with that. Pat, if you could rattle through to my last slide, that'd be great. So, application process, and I guess maybe the questions that are outstanding in your head is what does it need from yourselves? Like all ECB initiatives, there are some of the usual basic things, public liability insurance, 1 year tenure at your grounds. Again, if any of those sort of, I call them the fairly mundane things, if any of them throw a spanner in the works or you've got questions, please don't think that's the end of the road. Drop me a note, drop Pat a note, and if we can, we will absolutely still support the club to get engaged. The main things that there for me are those top 3 bullet points is actually, we want a commitment from the club to provide that fun and welcoming environment for all. And I'm sure you do that day in, day out. I'm sure you're all working really hard at the moment to make sure whatever the COVID restrictions allow, that cricket returns with a bang at your cricket club. So I'm sure there's none of you on the call that would think, actually, we don't want to do fun and welcoming. So I would hope you all tick that one. Going back to my last point, we would want at least one of your qualified coaches from the club at the sessions. Worst case, let's say maybe you haven't got someone qualified, but you've got a really keen volunteer. Well, let's have a chat with the guys at Essex and see if we could get them on a course as soon as space frees up. I fully appreciate Coach Eds has been tricky over the last winter, so there might not be spaces immediately, but I'm sure the guys there will work with you to make sure we can fill that coaching gap. And then finally, an ambition to embed this new section at the heart of the club. So as I've said, it's the cricket club piece that's really integral to this to me. So is it being discussed at committee level? In fact, even in the longer term, is perhaps a participant or a coach or a member of that group, are they represented on the committee? And all of those things that we know, once you've got all the building blocks in place, I think of my own club and the women's section we launched 3 years ago. It started off at sort of half a dozen sessions and they're now entered into a softball league, a softball cup. They've got 2 representatives on the committee. And it's those steps that don't always happen in year 1. I appreciate that. But as we build them up, hopefully this section becomes a real mainstay and a real flag of your intent at your cricket club, really, and what you're all about. There is online guidance notes which go into a bit more of the detail of this stuff, and some, as I say, the slightly more boring small print, but it's got to be there and it's important. And there's also an application form, which you'll be pleased to hear is fairly basic. It's just a one-sider, details, delivery address, a brief overview of what you plan to do. I'm not going to show those now because I said they're a little bit dry. What we'll make sure between Pat and I is that you get all the relevant links and documents that you need at the end of this. I can see Pat writing a note, so he's added that to his to-do list, which is fantastic. But whatever follows from this meeting today, we'll make sure you've got all the information so you can have a read about it and get your applications in. On applications, the deadline isn't until the end of next month. That's the good news. The slightly bad news, although it's not bad news from my perspective, is we've already had a lot of interest in this programme. So as I said at the top, we're looking to engage with 100 clubs. We've had just over 70 applications so far. So what I would suggest, if this feels like something that your club want to do, is probably don't leave it too long. I couldn't promise you if your application lands in the in-tray on the 29th of April, whether or not those spaces may have gone. But there is a bit of breathing space. We don't sort of make a decision right away. So if you could be sort of aiming for middle of April, I think that would be more than enough time that we can get your applications in and have a good read there. Right, I'm conscious that I've prattled on for more than long enough there. I think I'm passing back to Pat, but I'll pause for breath and happily take any questions now if anyone wants to come off mute or drop something in the chat box. Brill. In that case, Pat, I'll pass back to you and I will be on the line and happy to pick up any more questions or thoughts that come on later.
Lovely. Thanks, Edgar. Okay. As Edgar sort of covered, obviously, how the programme works nationally. And as he said, the Club Champions programme is key, really central for us in terms of our whole disability programme. So what we've got on the screen at the moment is our ability pathway. Shows all the aspects of disability cricket within Essex. And you'll see the Cricket Disability Champions Club and cricket clubs are key to that. They're central to how we operate. Everything we work with basically revolves around them. So just to talk you through that a little bit, you've got things like Chance to Shine, Table Cricket, Super Ones. Those who aren't aware, Super Ones is a programme run by the Lord Taverners. Their idea is to set up community-based hubs, so not specifically at a cricket club, but maybe at a leisure centre or at a school. And the idea is that's very much an introduction to disability cricket. So we've got hubs around East London, and we're starting to grow these over the next couple of years into the rest of Essex. So they'll be in Chelmsford, Southend, Colchester, maybe Harlow as well. And we're just looking at some bigger areas to target these. If you want more information about that, look up Super Ones online. We also work with community partners, disability people organisations as well. So community settings in which people are engaged, we go into those, deliver table cricket. Care homes comes under this bracket as well, where we've done some table cricket in the past. And as you'll see, this all feeds in to cricket clubs and the disability champion clubs. Out of there, we then move into the county side and the England teams, Disability Premier League, which is a new initiative which will be starting up towards the end of the year. Fingers crossed, providing we get the summer that we're hoping for. But these are pathways that wouldn't exist without the clubs. So the clubs are a focal point for everything we do. We need to grow the clubs. Super Ones, the idea of that is to feed into clubs in the local area as well. So if possible, we'll feed out of, for example, Harold Wood into the local Super Ones club, but Bradley will come on to that a little bit more. So even if you haven't got a Super One setting near you, there's things we can do, but we want to make sure that the champion clubs central to what we do. It's key. It's where most people who want to play cricket would think, let's go and look at cricket clubs. So you need the cricket club to be welcoming, to be open, and to be accepting to people when they come in. Obviously, as we mentioned, we're going to have the support from myself and Bradley, both full-time members of staff who are here to provide any support you need. Give us a line, drop us a bell, whatever you want to do, we'll be able to help you out. We've also, what I'll come on to now, in the next slide, we also run the club league. So this has been running now for 10 years. It's one of very few in the country, or probably even the world, which is focused just on disability clubs playing against each other in a competitive format. We run it very it's a formal competition, but the actual events themselves are very informal. So we judge things on the day as to what sort of format we play, whether it be 8-a-side, 6-a-side. The idea is just to get people along, make it more of a festival day, and to build from there. So we run indoor competitions throughout the winter. We have outdoor competitions as well. And it's just really a case of getting everyone along, getting them taking part. We see the club champions as being part of this as well. So they'd be invited to come along to the league. They'd be added as an extra team just to provide more numbers, but it also provides that competitive element. So rather than just week in, week out training at the club, you know, most of the players will want some competition to take place. Competition isn't the be all or end all, but we want it there just to provide an option for people who then want to go further. It gets them on that ladder, it puts them up. It then helps them link into maybe mainstream cricket as well, into our county teams. But we feel that the Disability Club League is very much key to how we want things to operate. So I said, you don't have to enter it. Some of the players within your club may not feel that they want to take part in competition, but hopefully they will. And hopefully the format that we run, make sure it's open to everyone. It's flexible on the day. We've even in the past split it up into 2 areas. So a junior and a senior competition for those more experienced players. And the idea is to have a level for everyone to fit in and get involved with their club. We're now going to go on to how a champion club may work. So I'm going to pass on to Bradley, who's going to come in. For those who don't know, Bradley is also part of the Harold Wood Warriors, Harold Wood Cricket Club. He's been an integral part of getting those guys up and running, and those guys are also going to come on as a champion club as well. So over to you, Rads.
Thanks, Pat. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'll just go give you a quick overview of what we try and do over at Harold Wood. Now, Harold Wood Warriors started about 10 years ago, where me and my family have sort of took it over from a charity who originally helped get this club going in the local area, and then with the capacity of obviously new clubhouse at the time at Harold Wood, we put it, the Harold Warriors was born, and that club was being able to carry on. Now, what we do at that club is it's just normally like a basic club as you would on a Friday or Saturday with your academy teams. So our guys come on a Friday, and what we do, we have normal sessions. So we might have normal work, then go into fielding drill and have a little game afterwards. All our sessions, they're, as we said earlier, yes, they're about the cricket, but also with the sort of people you're dealing with, it is sort of like a hub for them to come and socialise and develop as a person as well, which we feel is key at any club, not just our club. So yeah, so basically all we do, our guys come on a Friday night, we train on our pitch on a Friday. As I say, we have like a normal cricket session, and then we might use a wind ball, we might use the incredible. It just depends on the level of ability and who turns up on the day. But all we do, we try and keep it as much cricket as possible and keep it fun and enjoyable. Now, one of the other things that we do, we manage to try and go all year round, because what we found with these sort of people with disabilities is if you have maybe a 6 to 8 week break like you might have with your academy sides, that they lose interest, and when you come back it can be very difficult to engage with them. So what we try and do as well, we try and go all year round. So we go indoors in a local leisure centre, and we try and go all year round. Obviously we do take breaks for Christmas and other public holidays, but what we also do at Harold Wood as well, we have our own little pathway to help embed the warriors. So, for example, we might have a few participants come along, and they might really enjoy their cricket, and some of them might be able to go, as Pat said, might be able to go onto the Super Nines and the hardball teams. Now, if that is the case, and they're paying might get in the hardball development team for Essex. And then what I would do, I would then talk to my hierarchy and say, look, we might have a few that can probably fit in at our lower level teams. So we try to obviously help our participants push to the next level as well. So we've got a really good understanding at our club. We've got a couple of who can possibly play hardball cricket, so we might put them in a few friendlies, or we might put them in to our lower teams down. But what I think is also key is that we have me and our committee, we have regular conversations on how we can involve the organisation itself. For example, every time we have like a presentation or maybe a dinner and dance, the disability team always get invited to that. So it is really important that if you do this, that you make it a part of one club, and don't be frightened if you're a bit scared or you don't know what to do. That's what me and Pat are here therefore. And if, for example, you might want to come down to Harold Brook or one of the other clubs that we've already got set up in Essex, if you want to come down and see what one of them clubs do, please do, because that is one of the best guidance, and that you would get a real feel and a real experience on how the clubs work. Because not all clubs are the same, as you probably know, and it's the same with ability clubs and well. Thanks, Pat. That's all I've got. If there's any questions, feel free. If you want to add anything, feel free.
Lovely, thanks, Brad. Yeah, well, hopefully that's given everyone an overview, one of how the scheme works, but how it would fit in around everything in Essex. Just to touch on one of the key points Bradley mentioned there, the social side is very much key to all of our disability programs that we run. Be it all the way down from Super Ones all the way up to our county side, we make sure that the social aspect is very much a big part of what we do. We try to include everyone, we try to make sure we have as many social events as we can, because for a lot of people, the cricket is just part of the reason they're involved. They want to meet people, they want the social side. Same as any other cricket club, really. Yeah, the social aspect is very much a lot of the reason why people are there, why they get involved, why they stay involved as well. So we make sure the social side is very much key to what we do. Obviously, on here, I have put the link to our Essex Cricket page, to the disability page on there. There is also a link already to the ECB Club Champions page. So if you want to follow that, I will, as Edgar mentioned, email it out to everyone afterwards as well. Everyone on our mailing list who's got the link for tonight. I'll send you out the link for the Club Champions program. Are there any questions from anyone? Bill, how are we looking?
Yeah, we're looking great. Thanks, guys. That's a really very clear and very interesting examples of what you're achieving, all you guys, both ECB and obviously you two guys in Essex. I think we're all immensely proud of what you've achieved over the last few years, and a real inspiration to ensure that we get as much cricket as we possibly can do across the county. And I'm looking for anybody with a hand up, or if you'd like to come in with unmute yourself on the bottom with any questions, any comments you'd like to make. We've got about 10 more minutes. We always keep these to 40 minutes, these sessions. The sessions are going to be available. All the webinars are available on YouTube. If you just search Essex Cricket webinar, you'll get a whole list of them, all the ones we do. There's one more to do after this for next week's, which is going to be about Groundsmen. Obviously, a really important thing. We want to make sure that we get our grounds ready for the start of the season, and we're all obviously keeping our fingers crossed that we will make a nice start for them. Go on, yeah.
Hi, Phil, can I say something? I just want to say, just let me introduce myself. Okay, my name is Kenan Tyagaraja. I'm one of the East London community coach. I just want to thank you. Without the ECB and Essex support, I couldn't able to run few sessions at Barking Day. And I just want to say thank you, guys. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Kenan.
Yeah, good man.
Rest assured, Kenan, the feeling is very much mutual. We would not be able to do anything like the level of stuff that we can do, and I know Pat would echo that as well, with the likes of yourself doing some brilliant work. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Ken. And you know, made a good full recovery. That's great. It's we're always watching out for you. So yeah, welcome. Thanks for joining us tonight. Does anybody else like to come in with any comment like Ken's or any thoughts? Just unmute yourself.
Hi, Phil, Pat. Hi there. Just wanted to say, what are the restrictions or expectations in terms of club facilities? Because obviously I represent a club that's got, shall we say, somewhat aged facilities, but I'm quite hopeful, and I think, Pat, you can back me on this, that we've got the knowledge around disability. But what limitations are there in terms of what you expect the club facilities to be like?
From our point of view, evening, Richard, by the way, hope you will. Yeah, from our point of view, we don't really have too much expectation on facility. As long as it's welcoming, we're pretty much happy where it is. There shouldn't be an expectation. I know when we first started, a lot of clubs were very much put off disabilities because they thought it needed to be accessible, it needed to have certain changing rooms, this, that, and the other. But from our point of view, I think it's more about the club than actually where you are. So some of our programs actually operate out of sports centres, for example, and we're more than happy to have that. They don't have a clubhouse of their own. Obviously, a sports centre facilities is a lot nicer than a lot of cricket clubs can provide. But from our point of view, I think it's more about the people than actually the building. And obviously, knowing yourself, if you're able to provide some options down there at your club, that'd be brilliant. Not putting you on the spot or anything, but it'd certainly be, we know it'd be in safe hands and would be well looked after. There used to be, years ago, there was the opportunities to tap into funds to actually develop your clubhouse on the back of disability sport. That's probably not around as much as possible, and we probably wouldn't want you to go down that route anyway, if you're just setting up to improve your facilities. But I think as long as it can operate cricket, as long as it's got an indoor area if needed, you've obviously got facilities down there to operate cricket, I'd have no problem putting you forward. Edgar, I don't know if you had anything to add to that?
Yeah, echo what you said, really, Pat. I hate the facilities conversation to lead the cart on this one, as it were. I think all too often, especially historically, we've jumped to the fact of, we haven't got the ramp at the perfect angle or anything. Now, there is, needless to say, a basic level of amenities that I think we would like to see at any club, but that would be true of whatever you were trying to put on. But there's things that can be done to overcome that, and I'd absolutely echo what Pat said around it. It's the people and it's the attitude and it's the wanting to do this for the right reasons that leads the conversation. If then we do find there's a slight stumbling block, then we will absolutely work with you, and I will work with our facilities team. And it may be, Richard, we say, look, there's just something that we need to resolve that can't be resolved this year, but we want to work with, and apologies, I don't know the name of your club, but we want to work with that club to help them overcome that to get there. So always, if you've got a concern, express it on the application form and just say, look, we're conscious of this. Should we be worried about it? Shouldn't we? And between Pat and I, we can absolutely support you with that. And local level, Pat can come out and have a look if needs be and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'd absolutely agree. But the people in the place lead, and then we can always sort out physical things later down the line. Yeah.
Thanks. Hope that answers your question, Richard.
Okay, Richard, anybody else? Just while people are composing themselves, obviously that was all about facilities. And next week we're talking to the Groundsmen. So come on to next week and lobby for the facilities which are going to make it really easier to really put on all forms of cricket. And if it is items like ramps and things like that, we need to remind all groundsmen that their responsibility is not just those 22 yards, say on the square, but all around the whole ground, and that they have that thought. So please join us next week. Last shout for any questions. I'm not going to draw this out if we haven't got any more questions. Nothing in the chat box. Okay, I'd just like to say to Edgar, Pat and Brad, any final closing remarks before we say good evening?
No, so just if anyone needs anything, mine and Bradley email addresses are on this contact page. Hopefully you'll know how to get hold of us anyway. Our door is always open. I'm always here to answer any questions, any queries you've got. Obviously, when the time is right, even come out and meet you guys at your club if you are worried about facilities. Obviously, in the short term, that's going to have to be done via Zoom or telephone call. But we're always available should you need us. We'd be willing to provide any support that you guys think you might have.
Yeah, I echo that. If there's any problems, our emails are there. Just email us and we'll see what we can do in the short term and the long term. Hopefully, we'll see you very soon.
Thanks, Brad. And finally, Edgar, all the way from Somerset.
Yeah, it's been a tough journey. Wish me luck. Getting
Yeah,
there.
tough journey back. Good. Okay. Well, again, thanks to everybody for joining this evening.